Hello and welcome to this edition of Standard Deviation, my column and video series. Today I'm going to be speaking to you about why reappointing Nirmala Sitharaman as the Finance Minister is a good move for the Finance Ministry, the government overall, and even the economy. The new NDA government has done the right thing by retaining Nirmala Sitharaman as the Finance Minister. This might be an unpopular opinion, but it's borne out by the facts. Her tenure since taking office in 2019 has been a strong one, and that's not even counting the post-pandemic recovery of the Indian economy, which has been robust. If corporate India and the stock markets want stability, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi wants someone who unquestioningly follows his directions, then she's the right person for the job. It's easy and unfair to judge a finance minister by the performance of the overall economy. Yes, the finance ministry is the nodal ministry when it comes to economic policy because it is the one that doles out the money. But the fact is that implementation lies with the relevant ministry. If this falls short, it's hardly the finance minister's fault. That blame lies with the minister of that lagging ministry and ultimately with the Prime Minister. About 28 of the 51 or so ministries in the government of India are directly linked to the economy, and each has its own responsibilities. A better way to judge the performance of the finance minister would be to measure how the ministry itself has performed in the responsibilities directly within its ambit. This means looking at the performance of the various departments within the ministry: revenue, expenditure, economic affairs, financial services, asset management, and public enterprises. Let's start with revenue, since this is where most of the complaints against Nirmala Sitharaman have emerged. The main functions of this department have to do with the collection of direct and indirect taxes, as well as the investigation of economic offences and enforcement of economic laws. Regarding direct taxes, Nirmala Sitharaman in 2019 lowered the corporate tax rates to levels comparable with those around the world. That this did not eventually yield the kind of private sector investment that the economy needs is a different matter. Those tax rates needed to be revised downwards if there was to be even a chance of attracting private investment. Income tax rates have not changed under her tenure. That they were not lowered can be seen as a missed opportunity and may be something that will be addressed under this new government. The fact that they were not raised, however, is to be appreciated. Even without raising rates, income tax collections have grown by an average of about 16.7% every year since Nirmala Sitharaman took over as the finance minister in 2019. This is marginally faster than the 16.3% growth in the first term of the Modi government. This is even more notable given the impact of COVID-19 on incomes. Similarly, revenue from GST has been growing strongly without rates being increased. Average monthly GST collections have grown from less than 1 lakh crore before Nirmala Sitharaman took over to 1.7 lakh crore in 23-24. A lot of this increase in collections has come from the widening of the tax base. That is, more people have been brought into the tax net, creating room for a future cut in tax rates. However, the other reason for the increase in collections has been a significant increase in harassment by the taxman. Small companies, chartered accountants, and professionals, they all complain bitterly about cases being raised from years ago or bribes being demanded and an overall sharp rise in the cost of tax compliance. This is one of the primary reasons why Nirmala Sitharaman has been so unpopular as a finance minister. The other reasons, in my view, are simply sexist and don't deserve to be engaged with. Tax harassment, though, is undoubtedly an area that needs to be worked on. But given that collecting more taxes is government policy, it's not what Nirmala Sitharaman has been doing that needs to change, it's how that needs to change. The method of encouraging tax payments should move from coercion and bribe taking to lowering rates and easing compliances. There's no doubt about that. But that said, From the government's perspective, Nirmala Sitharaman has done a splendid job of raising revenues. Now, if she can also prevent debacles like the TCS on LRS payments, that would also be great. Another area of responsibility for the Department of Revenue is the enforcement of economic laws, with the Enforcement Directorate or ED coming under its purview. Harassment has undoubtedly become an issue on this front as well. But here too, it's something the government clearly wants done. Nirmala Sitharaman has been doing what she must. It's not as if some other BJP leader, if they were made the FM, would suddenly ask the ED to back off. Coming to the Department of Expenditure, a lot has already been said about the improving quality of government expenditure, but it bears repeating. The share of capital expenditure in total spending by the government has increased from a little more than 1/10 to nearly 1/5 during Nirmala Sitharaman's tenure. This has meant a falling share of revenue expenditure on salaries, pensions, and subsidies. This is the way to go. And it's not just me saying it. The global ratings agency S&P upgraded its outlook for India to positive in May this year and said a pronounced improvement in the quality of government spending and political commitment to fiscal consolidation were among the reasons for this. Fiscal consolidation is a result of the interplay between the revenue and expenditure departments and is overseen by the Department of Economic Affairs. The fact that the fiscal deficit has been trending downwards ever since the pandemic spike is a good sign. It's improvements here that could lead to an actual ratings upgrade following the recent outlook upgrade, which was the first in a decade or so. The cleanup of bank balance sheets from the non-performing assets mess seen in the last decade should itself be reason for applause. But add to that the record levels of profit seen in the banking sector now, and the Department of Financial Services becomes a worthy candidate for being the best performing department in the Finance Ministry and maybe even the government. Coming to the Department of Investment and Public Asset Management or DIPAM, its performance over the last few years has been quite nondescript. DIPAM was expected to be at the center of a lot of activity following the announcement of the government's ambitious public sector enterprises policy, or rather its privatization policy. But nothing has come of it, except for the sale of Air India. Relying on dividends from public sector companies instead of selling them off is more a political decision than a financial one. A coalition government will likely mean that this won't change in the next 5 years either. But overall, one can't say that this department has failed in any way. Now, the mission statement of the Department of Public Enterprises is formulating policies, fostering transparency, and promoting responsible governance to enhance the competitiveness and social impact of public sector enterprises. If ever there was an unending task, it is this one. Yet, the profit after tax of the listed PSEs surged by nearly 50% in financial year 2023-24, which is quite an achievement. So, all in all, the boss of the Finance Ministry has done a commendable job during her term. There are, of course, areas for improvement, and some of these are real pain points. But Nirmala Sitharaman's return as the Finance Minister bodes well for the Finance Ministry, the government, and even the economy. But on that note, that's all from me. Thank you for watching.